When a liberal luxury car dealership manager thought he could humiliate Melania Trump, believing she was an easy target, he had no idea he was about to awaken the wrath of a man willing to burn everything down to protect his family. "Ma'am, I don't think we have any cleaning positions available right now," Manager Richard Davidson sneered as Melania Trump walked into Harrison Luxury Motors, one of New York's most prestigious car dealerships. His voice dripped with mockery, eyes fixed on her with unconcealed disdain. Melania, who had come alone, hoping for one normal day away from politics and the D.C. spotlight, straightened her shoulders and responded, "I'm here to purchase a vehicle, not apply for a job." Davidson's lips curled into a cruel smile. "My mistake. It's just that, well, looking at your shabby appearance, I assumed—" He gestured dismissively at her designer outfit, knowing full well who she was. He had been bragging to his staff that morning about how he would never allow a Trump in his showroom. "I am Melania Trump," she stated firmly, "and I expect to be treated with the same respect as any other customer." Davidson's fake surprise couldn't mask his growing hostility. "Really? You look so much older in person, and heavier. What happened?" Several customers gasped at his blatant disrespect. A young sales associate stepped forward to intervene, but Davidson shot him a threatening glare that made him freeze in place. The staff's fearful reaction suggested this wasn't the first time their manager had shown his true colors, and it certainly wouldn't be the last mistake he'd make that day. "I deserve basic respect, just like any human being, regardless of what you think of me politically," Melania stated firmly, her accent more pronounced due to the rising emotion. "Oh, I deserve basic respect?" Davidson mocked, imitating her accent crudely. "Did you say you're a human being? No, you're a Trump. That's far from being human. Your kind is a threat to this planet, a global embarrassment." His voice grew louder, clearly wanting an audience. "We don't serve your type here. Maybe try learning proper English first," he spat, looking around theatrically. Other customers shifted uncomfortably, the showroom's pristine silence broken only by Davidson's increasingly venomous words. "But hey, if you want to get down on your knees and clean our floors, I might consider that position. After all, at least then your broken English wouldn't matter much," he sneered, clearly enjoying his moment of perceived power. The sales staff exchanged worried glances. One of them, a younger woman, looked close to tears, but none dared speak up. Davidson's reputation for retaliation against those who crossed him was well known within these walls. "What's the matter?" Davidson pressed, circling Melania like a shark that had smelled blood. "Can't defend yourself without your husband around? Your designer clothes can't hide what you really are." Melania's reply came with ice-cold dignity. "The only person showing their true nature here is you." "Is that a threat?" Davidson's face contorted with mock fear. "Oh, I'm so scared. What are you going to do, call your husband?" He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a malicious whisper. "This is my showroom, my rules, and I say you're not welcome here." Melania's composure only seemed to fuel Davidson's rage. "You think you're so special with your fancy clothes and your politician husband? Let me tell you what you really are. A gold digger who got lucky. That's all. Just a washed-up model who struck gold." He raised his voice, making sure everyone could hear. "And now, you and your husband spend your time destroying everything that makes this country great. You're both frauds, parasites living off hard-working Americans." "The only fraud I see," Melania replied calmly, "is a man who has to bully women to feel powerful." Davidson's face twisted with fury. This wasn't going according to his plan. She wasn't running away in tears. Instead, she stood there, poised and dignified, making him look more foolish with each passing moment. "Powerful," he spat. "I'll show you power. You want to know what I really think of you and your whole family? You're nothing but a circus act. A joke. Your husband's a joke. Anyone who supports you is a joke." The showroom had gone completely silent. Every eye was fixed on the unfolding scene. "And you know what's really funny?" Davidson continued, his voice dripping with venom. "You actually think you belong here, in my showroom, among real successful people." He gestured around theatrically. "Look in the mirror, sweetheart. Your cheap designer knockoffs can't hide what you really are. Just another fame-hungry opportunist." "Mr. Davidson," Melania cut him off, her voice sharp as steel. "Every insult you throw just proves how small you really are." His nostrils flared. She wasn't backing down, and that he could not stand. Davidson's eyes darted to the security guards near the entrance. "You know what? I've had enough of this circus. Security!" he barked. "Show Mrs. Trump here what we do with people who aren't welcome in our establishment." The two guards exchanged uncomfortable glances, but didn't move. "Did you hear me?" Davidson's voice rose to a shrill pitch. "I said remove her. That's what I pay you for." One of the guards cleared his throat. "Sir, I don't think that would be—" "You don't think?" Davidson cut him off. "I don't pay you to think. I pay you to follow orders." His face was turning an alarming shade of red. "Or maybe you'd like to join her in the unemployment line." The showroom had become so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Every customer, every employee, watched the scene unfold with a mixture of horror and fascination. "You see," Melania's voice carried clearly across the floor, "this is how you treat everyone, isn't it? Not just me. Anyone who doesn't bow to your delusions of power." "Delusions?" Davidson whirled back to face her. "I own this place. I can do whatever I want." He was practically foaming at the mouth now. "And what I want now is you out. You and your whole family of frauds and con artists." He stormed toward Melania, finger jabbing the air. "You think you're better than me? You're nothing! Your husband's nothing! Just a bunch of— Mr. Davidson!" A firm voice cut through his tirade. An elderly man in a veteran's cap had stepped forward from the crowd. "That's enough." Davidson spun around, his eyes wild with rage. "And who the hell are you to tell me what's enough in my showroom?" "I'm just a citizen who's seen enough bullies in my lifetime," the veteran replied calmly, his military bearing evident in his posture. "And what you're doing here isn't just unprofessional, it's un-American." Davidson's laugh was ugly and sharp. "Un-American? Look who's talking," he sneered, pointing at the veteran. "The guy who comes here every week just to window shop. You want to know about this hero? He can't even afford lunch, let alone any car in the showroom." The veteran didn't flinch. "My finances aren't the issue here. Your behavior is." Davidson's voice dripped with mockery. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hurt your delicate feelings? Maybe you and Mrs. Trump here can start a support group. The Broke and the Beautiful." He gestured dismissively. "Now get out of my showroom before I have security remove both of you." "There's no need." Melania stepped forward, her dignity intact. "We'll leave on our own." She turned to the veteran. "Thank you for your service and your kindness." As they walked toward the exit, Davidson couldn't resist one final jab. "That's right. Run away. Maybe you can both apply at the dollar store. I hear they're hiring." What Davidson didn't notice was Melania quietly typing something on her phone as she left. In exactly 15 minutes, he would learn the hard way that some battles are won before they even begin. Davidson strutted back to the center of the showroom like a peacock who just won a fight. "And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we deal with the Trump crowd in my establishment," he said smugly. He turned to his trembling staff. "What are you all staring at? Back to work. These cars won't sell themselves." But something had changed in the atmosphere. Customers were quietly heading for the exits. The sales staff exchanged knowing glances. Even the security guards seemed to be avoiding eye contact with their boss. "What's wrong with everyone?" Davidson demanded. His voice echoed in the increasingly empty showroom. "You'd think I'd committed some kind of crime. All I did was stand up to those clowns." Suddenly, The distinct purr of a Rolls-Royce engine cut through the tense silence. The sound grew louder, closer, through the dealership's floor-to-ceiling windows. A gleaming black Phantom rolled to a stop directly in front of the entrance. The kind of car that commanded attention. The kind of car that meant serious business. Davidson's smug smile began to fade as the driver's door opened. "No," he whispered, his face draining of color. "It can't be." The towering figure that emerged from the Rolls-Royce was unmistakable. That distinctive silhouette, that determined stride, that look of controlled fury. Donald Trump had arrived, and he wasn't here to buy a car. "Security!" Davidson barked, seeing Trump approach. "Don't let that man get near." The security guards, both considerably smaller than Trump, tensed as he approached. "My problem isn't with you," Trump's voice carried across the showroom. "It's with him." He pointed a finger directly at Davidson. Davidson froze. "Mr. Trump, You'll be hearing from my lawyer," Trump said, his voice like steel. "And trust me, you won't want to." Davidson's throat tightened as Trump approached him. There was no mistaking the coldness in his eyes or the calm but intimidating way he carried himself. The moment Donald Trump stepped into the showroom, all the noise and chaos seemed to stop. The customers and staff alike held their breath, waiting for what would happen next. "Mr. Trump, I didn't know you'd be coming today," Davidson stammered, his usual arrogance now replaced with a visible unease. He wiped his sweating palms on his trousers, trying to regain some composure. "I apologize for the inconvenience. It's just that—" "Save it," Trump cut him off, his voice sharp and unwavering. "I'm not here to listen to your excuses. I'm here because you disrespected my wife. And for that, you're going to pay." Davidson stood frozen, his face paling with each passing second. He tried to maintain his usual bravado, but it was clear he was no match for Trump's presence. "You're lucky I'm not dealing with you personally right now," Trump continued, stepping closer. "But you'll wish you were. Instead, I'm going to show you exactly how much power a man like me has when it comes to taking down a petty little tyrant like you." Davidson's mind raced, but before he could formulate a response, Trump turned to his wife, who had been standing silently by his side, watching the confrontation unfold. "Melania," Trump said, his tone softening. "Are you okay?" Melania smiled faintly, the grace she carried so effortlessly still shining through despite the verbal attack she had just endured. "I'm fine, darling," she replied, her voice steady and composed. "But he needs to learn that actions have consequences." With a single nod from Trump, he turned back to Davidson, who was still standing in stunned silence. "You've crossed the line, Richard. You've humiliated my wife in front of everyone here, and now you're going to face the consequences," Trump said. Davidson swallowed hard, trying to find his words, but nothing came out. He couldn't even meet Trump's gaze, as though the mere presence of the former president was enough to paralyze him. "I don't want to hear your apologies," Trump continued. "You think you can get away with this because you're the manager of a fancy dealership? You think people like you can say whatever you want, and nothing happens?" Davidson could feel his knees shaking as Trump's voice rose, each word like a blow to his ego. "I've dealt with people like you before," Trump said with a cold smile. "I don't back down, and I don't forget." With that, Trump pulled out his phone and made a quick call. He spoke briefly, his tone curt but authoritative. When he hung up, he turned back to Davidson. "I've already contacted my lawyer," he said, his voice as firm as steel. "This isn't just a matter of a public apology. I'm pressing charges for defamation and harassment, and believe me, I'll make sure the entire world knows what you did. I'll make sure your name becomes synonymous with disrespect and bigotry." Davidson's face turned an even paler shade of white. His mouth opened and closed as if he were trying to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Trump's words had cut him deep, far deeper than any insult Melania had thrown at him. The thought of his name being dragged through the mud, his reputation obliterated, terrified him more than he could have ever imagined. "You're finished, Richard," Trump said with a finality that sent a shiver down Davidson's spine. "And I'm not just talking about your career. I'm talking about your entire life. I'll make sure you regret this day for the rest of your life." With that, Trump turned to Melania and offered her his arm. "Let's go, darling. There's no need to stay in a place that doesn't deserve our time." As they walked toward the door, Davidson's legs wobbled, and he reached out, his voice barely a whisper. "Mr. Trump, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm not that person." But the Trumps didn't stop. They continued walking, leaving the dealership in a cloud of tension. As they stepped out of the showroom, Davidson's voice grew fainter behind them. Inside the dealership, an eerie silence settled. Every customer and every employee remained frozen in place, unsure of what had just happened. The power dynamic had shifted entirely, and in the wake of it, the showroom was no longer the prestigious establishment it once was. The next morning, Davidson's nightmare began. News outlets were already picking up on the incident, with footage of the altercation circulating across social media platforms. A video of Melania's calm but cutting remarks, paired with Trump's decisive retaliation, had gone viral within hours. Richard Davidson's name was trending, but not for the reasons he'd hoped. Headlines blared across the screens. "Luxury car dealership manager humiliates Melania Trump, pays the price." "Trump family strikes back, a lesson in respect from Donald Trump." The comment section was ruthless. People from all walks of life weighed in, and Davidson's reputation, which he had worked so hard to build, crumbled before his eyes. "This is what happens when you mess with the wrong people," one comment read. "Davidson got exactly what he deserved." "Who does this guy think he is?" another comment read. "You can't just bully someone because of who they are. And he picked the wrong person to mess with." For the next few days, Davidson's life became a whirlwind of regret. He had tried to maintain his professional facade, but the truth was out, and it had spread like wildfire. His phone rang off the hook, but every call was another reminder of his misstep. Clients canceled appointments. Employees who had once admired him now looked at him with disdain. The dealership's sales dropped drastically. Even his friends and acquaintances began distancing themselves from him, afraid of being associated with his scandal. It wasn't long before Davidson was summoned to a meeting with his superiors, who had heard all about the incident. The higher-ups at the luxury car dealership had no tolerance for bad publicity. They were more interested in their reputation than the personal issues of their employees. "Richard," the head of the dealership said coldly as he sat across from him in a plush, high-backed chair. "We've received numerous complaints about your conduct. Your behavior with Mrs. Trump was completely unacceptable." Davidson stammered, trying to explain himself, but the words stuck in his throat. "I didn't mean it that way," he muttered, his voice hollow. I was upset and—" The head of the dealership cut him off. "You've ruined our reputation. You've humiliated us on a national stage. You are no longer needed here. You're fired. Effective immediately." Davidson's world crumbled in an instant. He had believed that his arrogance would carry him through, but in the end, it was his own actions that led to his downfall. With a sense of numbness, he gathered his belongings from his office and walked out of the building, the weight of his choices heavy on his shoulders. As the doors closed behind him, Davidson realized that he had made a grave mistake, and no matter how hard he tried to justify his actions, there was no going back. His career, his reputation, his future, everything had been destroyed in an instant, all because of one reckless, thoughtless act of cruelty. Meanwhile, Melania and Donald Trump continued on with their lives, secure in the knowledge that no matter how hard people tried to bring them down, they would always stand tall, together, as a force to be reckoned with.